Hello and welcome to Boca Chica, Texas. I just turned the corner on Highway 4 coming out of Brownsville, and there we have the SpaceX complex. There's actually two parts to it. This part here is the rocket factory, and this part here is the launch complex. It looks like they're right next to each other, but that's an illusion because they go a long way towards the ocean. We'll see that when we get a little closer. Welcome to the SpaceX rocket factory. I had a nice chat with Mary, who works with Nasa Spaceflight. She gets great video every day to give to us for updates to everything that's going on here. So this is the beginning of the construction. Those stairs are new. We don't know what those are going in. Come across here. There's a new wall with solar panels all the way up and down, and the Starbase sign that's lit up at night. We have two shells that are going over fuel and oxidizer tanks down at the flight site. There's a tank right there. We'll see in a minute. That fits over the top to insulate it like a thermos bottle. Between there you can see ship number 15 and 16. I'll get a closer view of that before we're completely banned. 15 actually hopped up to 10 kilometers. 16 was built, but it didn't fly. That's the high bay where they stack the different sections of the spacecraft and then they roll them down the road to the launch site. You can see the crane with the mount point for the cryo shell. The crane will lift it up and put it on a rolling machine that takes it out and then rolls it down the road. They're constantly shuttling things back and forth between the construction and the launch site. Well, it's a quiet Sunday morning. Even SpaceX has a breather every now and then. And I booked myself here for 5 days, hoping I would catch something exciting in the time window that I have. We think there'll be some cryogenic testing and maybe a hot static fire of Booster 4 in the next 5 days, so cross your fingers. Okay, I just pulled up a little further. I'm now at Remedios Avenue, which is still a public road. There's the backside of the high bay and the mid bay, and we're gonna walk down there and see how close we can get to those rockets without being stopped by security. Elon's going to have a disco bar right up at the top level of the high bay, and there's a new higher bay, higher and wider, that's starting to being built right there. Here's another closer view of the tank that's under construction and almost finished. It'll end up holding methane fuel or oxidizer or another gas or liquid that's required at the launch facility. This is what used to be a capped off natural gas well, and SpaceX went out and bought secondhand components to start extracting natural gas out of there, and I think they're going to make their own methane for fueling the rockets. Okay, I am mere feet away from ship 15 and 16. I think that's the order. 15 actually launched and landed and didn't explode.
Just past 1 minute into flight, we're through 2 kilometers altitude. And we have ignition. Starship heading back to the landing zone.
And 16 was built but never flown because by the time it was built they had already engineered past the setup on that rocket, and they thought it wouldn't be a good use of resources to actually launch it, so it never got launched, and it's been placed on this display stand. Here's a little zoomed in view of the mid bay, the tank, and the mock-up NOSECONE. Look at this cute little house right on the beach. Has a little party deck out the back before SpaceX, and now it's next to one of the largest rocket factories in the world. Okay, I moved a little forward again. There's the high bay, the mid bay, and the series of tents that they're doing their construction in. The high bay you can see with the yellow gantry crane across the top. It looks empty, but booster 5 is tucked in on the left-hand side, and we can't see it, and it's partially stacked at this point, waiting for booster 4 to go through its testing and launch. And if we pan over, you can see the factory stops about here, and all the way in the distance is the launch complex. So I think there's at least 2 miles, probably 3 miles between the sites. We've now arrived at the launch complex. This is the launch tower, which was built in 8 or 9 segments and just bolted together. Next to the left is ship number 20, and you can see the fins on it and some of the heat shield tiles. Immediately to its left is booster 4. You can see the grid fins at the top, which will guide it to the ground upon its re-entry. Thank you for all the traffic going by. Okay, I'm at the end of the launch complex. We've got liquid nitrogen tanks, and through there we can see ship number 20. Right up at the tippy top, they had, during the pressure testing, they had some of the tiles came flying off. We think that's booster number 3, or a booster that's under some pressure testing. That's booster number 4 right now with the grid fins, and it will be stacked onto the pad here in front of the launch tower. They'll bring SN20 over, stack it on top, and then launch the 2 of them together. Okay, over the unhelpful fence, we can see ship number 20, booster 4, and Starhopper, the little spaceship that could. The very first hop that SpaceX did with a RAPTOR engine. Behind there is the launch tower, and then those cryo tanks with the shells on top. Okay, I'm in the employee parking area directly across from the site entrance, and this is incredible. This is the tank farm right here with the stainless steel tanks and then the cryo shells. There is the launch tower, and you can see this little arm here. It's called the quick disconnect. This is going to swing around and plug into Starship and feed it fuel and oxidizer and liquids and data and power, and then the booster will go on this bottom part. As I was driving past, I spotted these, which are called the chopsticks. This is what is going to be bolted to the launch tower, and it's also the landing tower, because each part of the rocket, the booster and the Starship, will come down very slowly, and then the launch tower will reach out and grab onto the ship like this with the grid fins. Then it will place it onto the pad ready for relaunch. That's key to Elon's vision of rapid reuse and relaunch. Just grab the thing out of the air, put it down on the launch pad, fuel it up, and off you go. It's like an airplane that goes into orbit, or to the moon, or to Mars. It's impossible to grasp the scale of this, even standing in front of it. That resulting rocket is taller than the Apollo rockets that NASA sent men to the moon on. The Starship is going to have a massive cargo area up at the top, and there will be several different versions. One that's a fuel tanker, one that places satellites in orbit, and one that's human rated to take humans to the moon and to Mars. Here's a straight-on view of booster number 4. Right underneath here, there are 31 rocket engines, and they are fueled by liquid oxygen and liquid methane. And because Elon does everything for a reason, they chose methane as the fuel, because you can make methane on Mars. And if he's sending a rocket to Mars, you want to be able to get it back. And you cannot take enough fuel to Mars for your return trip. You must manufacture it there in order to fly home. From this view, we can see the chopsticks, and you can see the arm that will come around the booster and grab it from each side. The chopstick arms will be bolted to the appropriate place on the launch tower. Even for a Sunday, this site is very busy with people and equipment working to go to space. Here we are at the bottom end of the launch complex, and it is literally on the road that goes to the beach. This is a public beach and a wildlife refuge for turtles and other animals, which means I can't fly the drone anywhere in the area. Not because of SpaceX. They would have a temporary flight restriction during certain activities, but the whole area is closed because it's a wildlife refuge, and that's the FAA rules. I found another viewpoint with some lovely artwork by the local people thanking SpaceX for what they're doing here. Some more artwork from the locals. I am just beyond the fence that says no trespassing, raptors loose. I am as close to that rocket launch complex as you can physically get. The launch pad, the launch tower. This looks like a good place to eat my lunch, right on the beach. And of course, I've got the car in off-road assist mode so I don't get stuck in the sand. While I was on the site, I bumped into a lot of great people, including these 3 brothers called Jim, Mike, and Steve. They're all retired and had worked at NASA and Boeing and in the world of aerial photography. And we ended up having dinner and talked about our previous lives and our love for all things space and SpaceX. Hey, if you found this video interesting, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like my other content, I'd appreciate a subscribe. Take care and see you next time.